The clock on the wall read 11:47 p.m. Lauren sat alone in complete, suffocating darkness. The only light in the luxury Seoul apartment came from the electric glow of the city's skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, framing her silhouette against the sprawling glass. 60 floors below, Seoul buzzed with a life she watched but never joined. Couples walked hand in hand toward late-night cafes, and businessmen stumbled out of karaoke bars with loosened ties. But up here, the silence was so heavy it felt like a physical weight pressing against her chest. Lauren sat on the velvet couch, her dark skin illuminated only by the faint blue light of her phone screen. She wore the emerald dress Daniel had bought her 6 months ago, the one he later criticized because it made her look too attention-seeking for his colleagues' dinner party. On the dining table behind her, bulgogi sat cold on expensive porcelain plates, the meat congealed and lifeless. His favorite japchae noodles had hardened into a mass. A birthday cake with 30 candles waited, the wax beginning to drip onto the chocolate frosting she had made from scratch. She checked her phone for the 23rd time in 2 hours. 23 missed calls to Daniel Choi, her husband of 2 years. Each one ignored. Each one a small death of hope. Lauren had learned to measure love in the minutes she waited alone, and tonight she had been waiting for 6 hours and 47 minutes. Then her phone vibrated. Not a call. A message. From an unknown number. She opened it. The photograph loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, each line revealing a new layer of devastation. Daniel sat in a private karaoke room, his arm wrapped around his secretary Sumin's waist. A birthday cake sat on the table in front of them, the Hangul characters spelling out, "Happy Birthday, Daniel." His smile was wide, genuine, the kind of smile Lauren hadn't seen directed at her in over a year. Sumin's head rested on his shoulder, her lipstick a shade of red Lauren recognized because she had once worn it before Daniel told her it made her look too bold. Lauren's hands trembled. The phone slipped from her fingers onto the couch. She didn't scream. She didn't cry loudly. She simply sat there as something fundamental inside her chest cracked clean in half, a fracture so complete she could almost hear it echo in the silent apartment. Before we continue, I would like to know where you are watching from. Drop your country in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Your support keeps these stories coming. Hit that like button if you're already feeling Lauren's pain. Now, let's go back into the story. Lauren stood. The movement felt mechanical, as if her body operated separately from her mind. She grabbed her black coat from the closet, slipped on the Christian Louboutin heels Daniel had bought her last Christmas with a credit card she later discovered was maxed out, and walked out of the apartment without turning off a single light. The bulgogi could rot. The cake could melt. She didn't care anymore. The elevator ride down 60 floors felt like falling through her own memories. She thought about the day she left Lagos, Nigeria, her mother crying at Murtala Muhammad International Airport, begging her not to marry a man she barely knew. But Lauren had been 26 and in love, convinced that Daniel Choi was different from the men her friends warned her about. He had pursued her during her marketing conference in Dubai, charmed her with promises of a life in Seoul, told her she would be his queen. His queen. The title felt like a sick joke now. The taxi dropped her off at Hotel Shila's main entrance. The doorman gave her a concerned look as she walked past, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. She had cried all her tears months ago, back when Daniel first started coming home smelling like jasmine perfume that wasn't hers. Back when he told her to quit her job at the marketing firm because a wife should focus on making a home, not chasing a career that embarrasses me in front of my family. The hotel bar was exclusive, dimly lit with amber lights that reflected off crystal glasses and polished marble. Lauren walked to the bar and sat on a leather stool, her posture perfect despite the weight crushing her lungs. The bartender, a young man with kind eyes, approached carefully. "Whiskey," Lauren said in Korean, her accent still thick but understandable. "The strongest you have." He poured Macallan 25, sliding the glass toward her with a look that said he understood this wasn't about enjoying expensive liquor. This was about survival. Lauren lifted the glass, the amber liquid catching the light, and took a long drink that burned all the way down. That kind of sadness doesn't come from a bad day. The voice spoke in English, smooth and deep, with a soul accent that made the words sound like a melody. It comes from a bad year. Lauren turned. The man sitting 3 seats away in the VIP section wasn't looking at her with the predatory gaze she had grown used to from Daniel's colleagues. He was looking at her with something far more dangerous. Recognition. As if he saw not just her pain, but her worth beneath it. He was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with the kind of commanding presence that made every head in the bar turn toward him without him saying a word. His black suit was custom-tailored, the fabric catching light in a way that screamed wealth beyond measure. His hair was styled back from a face that belonged on magazine covers, sharp jawline and dark eyes that held intelligence and something else. Loneliness. 2 security guards stood behind him at a respectful distance, but he waved them back as he stood and walked toward her. Not too close. Respectful of her space. He gestured to the empty stool beside her. "May I?" Lauren should have said no. Should have protected herself from any man offering comfort when she was this vulnerable. But she was so tired of being alone in her pain that she simply nodded. He sat down, ordered his own whiskey, and for a long moment they sat in silence. It wasn't awkward. It was the kind of silence that felt like understanding. "I'm Haki," he finally said, extending his hand. "And you look like someone who just had their heart broken in the cruelest way possible." Lauren laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even her. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's been there." Haki took a sip of his drink, his eyes still on her face. "Let me guess. He made you feel invisible until you started to believe you actually were." The accuracy of the statement hit Lauren like a punch to the sternum. She turned to fully face the stranger who somehow understood. "How did you know?" "Because 5 years ago I lost someone I loved," Haki said quietly. "And I spent every day since then becoming invisible to myself. Work, money, power. None of it filled the space she left. So I recognized that look in your eyes. The look of someone who gave everything and received nothing in return." Lauren's hands trembled around her glass. "I waited for him tonight. It was his birthday. I cooked his favorite meal, made his cake from scratch, wore the dress he bought me even though he criticized me the last time I wore it. And he never came home. Instead, someone sent me a photo of him with another woman. His loss," Haki said simply. "And I don't say that to be polite. I say it because any man who makes a woman like you wait alone is a fool who doesn't deserve the air he breathes. You don't even know me." Lauren's voice cracked slightly. "I know enough." Haki turned his phone screen toward her. On it was a Forbes article from 2 years ago. "Lauren Adewale, award-winning marketing strategist. Your campaign for Lux Diamond in Dubai increased their international sales by 347% in 6 months. You are being courted by every major firm in Africa and the Middle East." Lauren stared at the article, at the woman in the photograph who smiled with confidence and purpose. That woman felt like someone from another lifetime. "How did you find that?" "I make it my business to know who walks into my city looking lost," Haki said. "Lauren, what happened to that woman?" "The one who commanded boardrooms and made CEOs nervous. She married a man who told her that her career made him look small," Lauren whispered. "She gave it all up to be a wife. And then she learned that sacrifice means nothing to someone who never valued her in the first place." Haki's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping in his cheek. For a moment, his carefully controlled expression slipped, and Lauren saw a flash of genuine anger. "Not at her. For her. I run Hack Tech Industries," he said. "We're Korea's largest AI and robotics company. And right now, I'm launching an international expansion that requires someone who understands African and Middle Eastern markets. Someone brilliant. Someone who speaks 4 languages and understands cultural nuances that my Korean executives miss." He pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and placed it on the bar between them. "When you're ready to stop waiting for someone to see your worth, call me. Not for romance. Not for pity. For the job you should never have given up." Lauren stared at the card, embossed with silver lettering. Director of International Marketing Strategy. The salary listed at the bottom made her breath catch. It was 4 times what Daniel made. "I can't," she said automatically. "My husband wouldn't allow it." "Your husband," Haki said, his voice dropping to something cold and final, "has no say in what you allow yourself to become. That's the difference between a man and a boy wearing a wedding ring. A man builds his wife up. A boy tears her down to feel tall." Before Lauren could respond, a flash went off across the bar. A man in a business suit, one of Daniel's colleagues from his finance firm, was pointing his phone at them, a smirk on his face. Lauren's stomach dropped. Haki's reaction was immediate. He snapped his fingers once. His security moved like shadows, crossing the bar in seconds and cornering the man. Within 30 seconds, they had confiscated his phone, and Haki was standing in front of him with an expression that could freeze blood. "In my city, we don't photograph women without their consent," Haki said softly, dangerously. "And we certainly don't take photos to use as ammunition for petty gossip. You have 2 choices. Delete every photo you took tonight and apologize to the lady, or I make 1 phone call and ensure you never work in Seoul again. Your choice." The man went pale. Everyone in Seoul knew who Haki was. Everyone knew that when he made threats, they weren't empty. The man deleted the photos with shaking hands and muttered an apology before practically running out of the bar. Haki returned to his seat beside Lauren as if nothing had happened. "I apologize for the scene. But I meant what I said. No one photographs you without permission. Not while I'm here." Lauren felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Protection. Not possession. Not control. Simply protection offered freely with no strings attached. They talked for 2 more hours. Haki told her about his company, about the young female engineer he had hired who revolutionized their robotics division. Lauren told him about growing up in Lagos, about her mother who sold fabrics in Balogun Market to pay for Lauren's education, about her dream of opening her own marketing firm one day. He listened to every word as if she were describing the secrets of the universe. At 1:30 in the morning, Haki called his driver. "Let me take you home safely. No expectations. No ulterior motives. Just basic human decency, which seems to be in short supply in your life right now." Lauren agreed. She was exhausted, wrung out from crying tears she didn't know she still had. In the back of Haki's Mercedes, she closed her eyes and, for the first time in months, felt safe. When they arrived at her building, Haki walked her to the lobby but didn't follow her to the elevator. He simply handed her his business card again. "The offer stands. When you're ready, call me." "And Lauren?" He waited until she met his eyes. "You deserve better than waiting in the dark for someone who isn't coming home." Lauren rode the elevator back up to the 60th floor, walked into the apartment that still smelled like cold bulgogi, and finally let herself cry. Not because she was broken, but because someone had finally reminded her that she wasn't. 3 days later, Daniel came home to find divorce papers on the dining table. Are you feeling what Lauren's feeling right now? Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what you would do in her situation. Would you have stayed or would you have walked away? Let me know below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Daniel stared at the papers, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and finally anger. Lauren sat on the couch, dressed in jeans and a simple blouse, her natural hair pulled back in a bun. She looked tired but resolute. "What is this?" Daniel demanded, waving the papers. "Exactly what it looks like," Lauren said calmly. "I'm filing for divorce." "You can't be serious." Daniel laughed, actually laughed, as if this were some elaborate joke. "Lauren, come on. You're upset about my birthday, I get it. I'm sorry I didn't make it home. Work ran late, and then Suman needed help with some client files. I saw the photo, Daniel." Lauren's voice cut through his excuses like a knife. "I saw you with your arm around her. I saw the cake. I saw your smile, the one you haven't given me in over a year." Daniel's expression hardened. "Who sent you that? Was it Jiwoo? That jealous bastard has been trying to start problems between us for months. It doesn't matter who sent it." Lauren stood, her posture straight and strong. "What matters is that it happened. And it's not the first time. The jasmine perfume on your shirts. The late nights that turn into early mornings. The way you flinch when I touch you, like my hands are something disgusting you have to tolerate. You're being dramatic. Daniel tossed the papers onto the coffee table. Every marriage has rough patches. You think you can just give up because things aren't perfect. I gave up my career for you, Lauren said, her voice rising for the first time. I left my country, my family, my entire life, because you promised me we would build something together. But you don't want a partner, Daniel. You want a maid who warms your bed occasionally and makes you look progressive to your colleagues. Look at Daniel, he married a black woman, how modern of him. That's all I ever was to you. A trophy you could show off when it suited you and hide when it didn't. That's not true. But Daniel's voice lacked conviction. Your mother told me I would never be good enough for her son because I'm not Korean, Lauren continued, her words coming faster now, 2 years of suppressed pain finally erupting. She said it to my face at our wedding, and you just stood there. You didn't defend me. You told me to understand her perspective, to be patient, to prove myself worthy. I spent 2 years trying to prove myself to people who decided I wasn't enough before they even met me. Daniel's jaw tightened. My mother is traditional. You knew that going into this marriage. And you're a coward, Lauren shot back. You hide behind tradition and family expectations because it's easier than admitting you never loved me. You loved the idea of me. The exotic foreign wife who made you feel worldly and sophisticated. But when it came to actually showing up for me, protecting me, valuing me, you disappeared. I gave you everything, Daniel said, his voice rising to match hers. This apartment, the clothes, the lifestyle. I never asked for any of it. Lauren's voice cracked. I asked you to come home on your birthday. I asked you to meet my mother when she flew here from Lagos and you canceled 30 minutes before dinner. I asked you to support me when your colleagues made racist jokes at company dinners and you laughed along with them. Money isn't love, Daniel. It's just money. Silence filled the apartment, heavy and final. Daniel stared at her as if seeing her clearly for the first time and not liking what he saw reflected back at him in her eyes. If you file for divorce, you'll get nothing, he said coldly. The prenup you signed. I don't want your money, Lauren interrupted. I don't want this apartment or the clothes or any of it. I just want my freedom. Sign the papers, Daniel. Let me go. No. Daniel picked up the papers and tore them in half. You're my wife. You made a commitment. You don't just get to walk away because you're having a tantrum. Lauren smiled, a sad, knowing smile. I already consulted a lawyer. I don't need your signature to file. I'm giving you the courtesy of an amicable divorce. But with or without your cooperation, I'm leaving. You can make this easy, or you can make it expensive. Your choice. She walked past him toward the bedroom. Daniel grabbed her arm, his grip tight enough to bruise. You're not going anywhere, he hissed. Lauren looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Let go of me. Now. Something in her voice made him release her. She went into the bedroom, packed a single suitcase with her essential belongings, and walked out without looking back. Daniel stood frozen in the living room, watching her leave, still unable to process that she was serious. At the door, Lauren paused. I waited for you for 2 years, Daniel. I give you every chance to love me. But you taught me something important. You taught me that I can't force someone to value me. All I can do is value myself enough to walk away. She closed the door behind her. Lauren spent the next week at a small hotel in Gangnam, using the last of her savings to survive while she figured out her next move. On the 8th day, she pulled out Hak Ki's business card. She stared at it for an hour, pride warring with desperation, before finally calling the number. He answered on the second ring. Lauren. How did you know it was me? She asked, surprised. I've been waiting for your call, Hak Ki said simply. Are you ready to stop hiding your brilliance? I left him, Lauren whispered. I filed for divorce and I left. There was a pause. Then Hak Ki's voice, warm with something that sounded like pride. Good. Can you come to HackTech tomorrow at 10? I want to introduce you to the team. The next morning, Lauren walked into HackTech Industries wearing a power suit she had bought with her last credit card, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo, her head held high despite the fear churning in her stomach. The headquarters occupied 3 floors of a glass skyscraper in Gangnam, all sleek lines and modern design. Employees moved with purpose through open-plan offices, the air humming with innovation. Hak Ki met her in the lobby personally, not sending an assistant but coming himself. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Daniel made in 3 months, but his smile was genuine and warm. "Ready to remember who you are?" he asked. Lauren nodded. "I'm ready." He led her to the executive conference room where 12 people sat around a marble table. All eyes turned to her as she entered, some curious, some skeptical. Hak Ki gestured to the head of the table. "Everyone, this is Lauren Adewale. She'll be joining us as Director of International Marketing Strategy." "Lauren, why don't you tell them about the Lux Diamond campaign?" For the first time in 2 years, Lauren felt the fog lift from her brain. She began to speak, and as she detailed her strategy for entering the African luxury market, she watched the skepticism in the room transform into attention, then interest, then respect. She fielded questions in Korean, English, and Yoruba when one executive mentioned their Nigerian partnerships. She outlined a 3-year expansion plan that would triple Hakteka's international revenue. When she finished, the room was silent. Then Hak Ki started clapping, and the rest of the team joined in. "Welcome to Haktek," Hak Ki said. "Your office is ready." That afternoon, Lauren sat in her new office overlooking Seoul, glass walls surrounding her, her name already on the door in English and Hangul. She called her mother in Lagos. "Mama, I left Daniel," she said in Yoruba. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. "Then, you stayed longer than I thought you would. Is this about the Korean man from the hotel?" Lauren laughed through tears. "How did you know about that?" "A mother knows." "Is he treating you well?" "It's not like that, Mama. He gave me a job. He reminded me that I'm more than what Daniel said I was." "Then he's a wise man," her mother said. "Come home for Christmas. Let me feed you properly. You sound too thin." Lauren promised she would. After hanging up, she opened her laptop and began drafting the international expansion proposal that would change Hakteka's future. She worked until midnight, fueled by coffee and the intoxicating feeling of using her mind again. 3 months passed. Lauren threw herself into work with the intensity of someone making up for lost time. She negotiated partnerships in Lagos, Accra, and Nairobi. She brought Haktek into markets Korean companies had never successfully penetrated. Her campaigns were featured in Bloomberg and Forbes. Slowly, painfully, she rebuilt the woman Daniel had tried to erase. Hak Ki watched her transformation with something that looked like awe. They worked closely, often staying late in the office to finalize proposals. He never crossed professional boundaries, never made her feel uncomfortable, but the electricity between them was undeniable. The way his hand would linger on her shoulder when reviewing documents. The way her breath would catch when he smiled at her across the conference table. One evening, as they stood at his office window watching Seoul's lights flicker to life, Hak Ki spoke quietly. "You're extraordinary, Lauren. I hope you know that now." "You helped me remember," she replied. "No." He turned to face her. "I just gave you space to be who you always were. Daniel tried to dim your light because it threatened his mediocrity. But light doesn't apologize for shining." Lauren felt heat rise in her chest. "Hak Ki, I know you're still married legally," he interrupted gently. "I know you need time. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that when you're ready, when you're truly free, I'll be here. Not as your boss. As a man who sees you." Before Lauren could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "The charity gala is this weekend. Hakteka's annual fundraiser. All the major players in Seoul will be there." He looked at her carefully. "I'd like you to come. As part of the executive team. But I understand if it's too soon to be in the public eye." "I'll be there," Lauren said firmly. "I'm not hiding anymore." The gala was held at the Grand Hyatt, a massive ballroom draped in white silk and crystal chandeliers. Lauren wore a custom gown she had designed herself, a fusion of traditional Nigerian Ankara fabric and modern Seoul fashion. The bodice was deep emerald silk that highlighted her skin, flowing into a skirt of gold and emerald Ankara print. Her hair was styled in bantu knots decorated with gold accessories. She looked like royalty from two worlds merged into one stunning vision. When she entered on Hak Ki's arm, conversations stopped. Cameras flashed. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who is she? That's Hakteka's new director. The one who secured the African partnerships. She's with Chairman Hak Ki? Daniel was there with his firm's executives. He stood near the bar, scotch in hand, laughing at something his boss said. Then he turned and saw her. His face went white. The glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Sumin, standing beside him in a dress far too young for the event, followed his gaze and her expression soured. Lauren felt his stare but didn't acknowledge it. She smiled up at Hak Ki as he introduced her to Seoul's elite, speaking confident Korean mixed with English and Yoruba when appropriate. She commanded conversations about market trends and international expansion. CEOs who had dismissed her as Daniel's foreign wife 2 years ago now handed her business cards and requested meetings. Daniel watched it all. Watched her laugh genuinely. Watched powerful men respect her opinions. Watched Hak Ki's hand rest protectively on her back as they moved through the crowd. The jealousy that consumed him was a living thing, burning hot and irrational in his chest. During dinner, Daniel approached their table. Hak Ki and Lauren were seated with Samsung's CEO and the Korean Minister of Trade. Daniel's presence was an intrusion everyone noticed. Lauren, Daniel said, his voice strained. Can we talk? Privately? Lauren looked up at him calmly. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Daniel. Please. His voice cracked slightly. 5 minutes. Hak Ki's expression darkened, but Lauren placed a hand on his arm. It's fine. I'll handle this. She stood and followed Daniel to a quiet hallway outside the ballroom. He turned to face her, and she could see the desperation in his eyes. What are you doing? He demanded. I'm working, Lauren said evenly. What does it look like? You're embarrassing me. Daniel hissed. Everyone's talking about you being here with him. People think you're his mistress. Lauren laughed, cold and sharp. Now you care about what people think? Where was this concern when your colleagues made jokes about my accent at company dinners? When your mother told me I'd never be a proper Korean wife because of the color of my skin? Lauren, I'm sorry, Daniel said, and for the first time since she'd known him, he actually sounded sincere. I made mistakes. I took you for granted. But you're still my wife. You belong with me, not with him. I belong to myself, Lauren corrected. That's what you never understood, Daniel. I'm not a possession. I'm a person. And I choose not to be with someone who made me feel worthless. He's using you, Daniel insisted. Men like Hak Ki don't actually care about women like you. He just wants to sleep with you and then he'll discard you like you did. Lauren interrupted. You're projecting, Daniel. You assume every man treats women the way you do. But Hak Ki has never made me feel small. He's never criticized my ambitions or told me to dim myself to make him comfortable. He sees me as an equal. You think he'll marry you? Daniel's voice turned cruel. You think his family will accept you any better than mine did? You're living in a fantasy, Lauren. Maybe, Lauren admitted. But even a fantasy where I'm respected is better than the reality of being invisible to my own husband. Before Daniel could respond, Hak Ki appeared in the hallway. His expression was cold, controlled fury. Is there a problem here? This is between me and my wife, Daniel snapped. Your soon-to-be ex-wife, Hak Ki corrected. Who has made it clear she doesn't want to speak with you? I suggest you return to your date, Mr. Choi. I believe your secretary is looking for you. The dismissal was absolute. Daniel's face flushed red with humiliation, but he couldn't argue. Not here. Not with half of Seoul's business elite watching from the ballroom entrance. He stalked away, his hands clenched into fists. Hak Ki turned to Lauren, his voice softening. Are you all right? I'm fine, Lauren said, and realized she meant it. He doesn't have power over me anymore. Good. Hak Ki offered his arm. Shall we return? The minister wants to discuss opening a Haktech training facility in Accra, and he specifically requested your input. Lauren took his arm, and they walked back into the ballroom together. Behind them, Daniel watched from the shadows, finally understanding what he had lost. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Daniel fought it at first, hiring expensive lawyers and trying to claim Lauren had abandoned their marriage for another man. But Lauren's lawyer, paid for by her own salary now, presented phone records showing Daniel's constant contact with Sumin, testimonies from hotel staff confirming his affairs, and the photograph from his birthday that started everything. The judge granted the divorce. Lauren walked out of the courthouse in a cream pantsuit, sunglasses hiding her eyes, and climbed into Hak Ki's car. They didn't go back to the office. Instead, Hak Ki drove to a private beach house he owned in Busan, 3 hours from Seoul. "You need rest," he said simply. "Real rest. Not work. Not stress. Just peace." They spent 3 days there, walking on the beach, cooking meals together, talking about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. On the third night, as they sat on the deck watching the ocean turn silver under the moonlight, Hak Ki finally spoke the words that had been building between them for months. "I'm in love with you," he said quietly. "I didn't hire you to seduce you. I hired you because wasting your talent was a crime. But falling in love with you? That was inevitable. You're brilliant and kind and strong in ways that terrify me because I don't know if I'm worthy of you." Lauren turned to face him, her heart pounding. "Hak Ki, I don't need an answer now," he continued. "You're newly divorced. You're rebuilding your life. I just needed you to know. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be waiting. Not in a bar, but at the altar. Because I want forever with you, Lauren. I want to build an empire beside you. I want to give you everything Daniel was too blind to appreciate." Lauren kissed him. It wasn't planned or rehearsed. She simply leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, tasting salt air and promise and a future she had thought was impossible. When they broke apart, she was smiling. "I'm ready now," she whispered. "I'm ready to be loved by someone who sees me." Hak Ki kissed her again, deeper this time, pulling her close like she was something precious he had been searching for his entire life. And in that moment, with the ocean singing below them and stars scattered across the sky, Lauren finally felt free. 6 months later, they announced their engagement. The wedding was planned for the following spring, a fusion ceremony that would honor both Lauren's Nigerian heritage and Hak Ki's Korean traditions. The guest list included government ministers, CEOs, celebrities, and Lauren's entire extended family flown in from Lagos. Daniel heard about the engagement from a colleague who saw it on the news. He was sitting in his apartment, the same apartment Lauren had left, now dirty and neglected without her care. Sumin had left him 2 months ago, moving on to a senior partner who could offer her more. His mother still called weekly, asking when he would find a proper Korean girl to settle down with, never mentioning Lauren's name. He pulled up the engagement photos on his laptop. Lauren stood beside Hak Ki in front of Haktech headquarters, her hand displaying a ring that probably cost more than Daniel made in a year. But it wasn't the ring that broke him. It was her smile. Radiant. Genuine. Free. The smile he had never seen directed at him in 2 years of marriage. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Daniel Choi. A woman's voice, professional and cold. "Yes. This is Attorney Kim from Hak Ki's legal team. I'm calling to inform you that you're invited to Mr. Hak Ki and Ms. Adewale's wedding. Ms. Adeyemi specifically requested you be included in the guest list. She said, and I quote, I want him to see what love actually looks like. The invitation will be mailed to your address. Good day, Mr. Choi." She hung up. Daniel stared at his phone, Lauren's words from their last conversation echoing in his mind. "You taught me that I can't force someone to value me. All I can do is value myself enough to walk away." She had walked away. And she had walked into a life that made their marriage look like a prison sentence. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather, spring sunshine warming Seoul's streets. The ceremony was held at Shilla Hotel's Grand Ballroom, the same building where Lauren and Hak Ki had met in that bar a year and a half ago. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Daniel stood at the back of the ballroom, watching the ceremony from behind a pillar. He had come because his masochistic pride demanded it, needing to see the final proof of what he had destroyed. Lauren walked down the aisle in a custom gown that merged white lace with emerald and gold ochre fabric, her natural hair crowned with traditional Nigerian beads and a delicate veil. Hak-ki waited at the altar in a traditional Korean hanbok fused with modern elements, his eyes never leaving her face as she approached. The officiant conducted the ceremony in 3 languages, Korean, English, and Yoruba. When it came time for vows, Hak-ki spoke first. "Lauren, you taught me that love isn't found in grand gestures for strangers, but in daily reverence for the one you choose. You reminded me that I was capable of feeling after I thought grief had killed that part of me. I promise to honor your mind, protect your heart, and never make you wait in the dark alone again. I promise to be the man worthy of your choice every single day for the rest of our lives." Lauren's vows were equally powerful. "Hak-ki, you saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I had forgotten my own worth. You gave me space to heal and rebuild without demanding anything in return. I promise to stand beside you, not behind you. To build our empire together as equals. To love you not because I need you, but because I choose you freely every single day." They exchanged rings. They kissed as husband and wife. The ballroom erupted in applause. During the reception, Hak-ki stood to make an announcement. The room quieted, hundreds of eyes turning toward the head table where he and Lauren sat. "Thank you all for celebrating with us today," Hak-ki began. "But this isn't just a wedding. It's the launch of something Lauren and I have been building for months. We're proud to announce the Lauren Adewale Foundation." A screen behind him lit up with a logo. Lauren's name in elegant script surrounded by both Korean and Nigerian design elements. "The foundation has been endowed with $100 million, Hak-ki continued as gasps rippled through the crowd. Its mission is to provide full scholarships, mentorship, and business support for African women pursuing careers in technology across Asia. We're partnering with universities in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and South Korea to create a pipeline that ensures brilliant minds are never lost because of financial barriers or cultural obstacles." Lauren stood beside him, tears streaming down her face. "My mother sold fabric in a Lagos market to pay for my education," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "She believed I would achieve everything she sacrificed for. But I lost my way. I gave up my dreams for someone who didn't value them. This foundation is for every daughter whose mother worked herself to exhaustion. For every woman told she wasn't smart enough, wasn't Korean enough, wasn't enough, period. You are enough. You always were." The screen changed to show a photograph of Lauren's mother, Gloria Adewale, standing proud in traditional Nigerian clothing, her smile radiant. Lauren broke down completely, and Hak-ki pulled her into his arms, holding her as she cried happy tears for the mother who never got to see this moment. From his position at the back of the room, Daniel watched it all. He saw the foundation that honored a woman he had never asked Lauren about. He saw the $100 million, the partnerships, the legacy being built. He saw Hak-ki hold Lauren like she was something infinitely precious and irreplaceable. And he finally understood. Lauren hadn't left him for another man. She had left him for herself. Hak-ki was just wise enough to love the woman she became when she chose herself first. Daniel slipped out before the first dance, unable to watch anymore. As he walked through Seoul's streets back to his empty apartment, he pulled out his phone and looked at old photos from their wedding. Lauren had been smiling in those pictures too, but now he could see the difference. Those smiles never reached her eyes. They were the performance of a woman trying to convince herself she had made the right choice. Today, her smile had been real. Daniel had been given something precious and rare, and he had crushed it through neglect and cruelty, and he would spend the rest of his life knowing that Lauren Adewale was out in the world, brilliant and loved and successful, while he sat alone in the apartment where he had made her feel worthless. Some lessons are learned too late. Some chances don't come twice. And some women, once they remember their worth, never forget it again. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me what you think about Lauren's journey. Would you have given Daniel a second chance? Or was Hak-ki the love she deserved all along? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. You are worth more than someone who makes you wait in the dark. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.